All right, we're going to talk to renowned economist Dean Baker. He's co-director of the Center for Economic and Policy Research, and he's going to help us to figure it out. Dean, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
All right, great. So let's address the fundamental question first. Is this for real? And what is the reason behind this uptick in jobs?
Well, we have to put this in some context. The economy ordinarily creates jobs. The question is the pace. And 150,000, that's okay, but not given where we've been. Given the severity of the downturn we've seen, we should be looking at 300,000 or 400,000, even 500,000 jobs a month. At this rate, it's going to take us 15 years to get back to a normal rate of unemployment. So this really isn't much cause for celebration. It could have been worse. That's what you could say.
So in a normal upturn, you're saying we'd add a lot more jobs. So what's preventing that? Is it something Obama's doing? Is it something the Republicans are doing? Or is it just structural problems?
Well, the problem is you have to replace the demand that was coming from the housing bubble. So when we had the housing bubble, 03, 04, 05, 06, we had about $600 billion a year in construction demand that's disappeared. We had huge overbuilding in construction. No one's going to build either residential or non-residential. Huge loss in construction demand. The other part of the story was consumption demand. People had all this wealth in their homes. And now that house prices have fallen back, they're probably going to fall more, but they've fallen about $6 trillion. People don't have that wealth, so they're not consuming. So you need to replace them. This was the whole idea of stimulus. And unfortunately, I think President Obama never did a very good job explaining that story. You had to replace $1.2 trillion in annual demand. And the stimulus was a start, but it was nowhere near the right size. And there's no easy way around that.
But Dean, isn't that also temporary? Okay, so if we did a larger stimulus, obviously it would stimulate the economy more, and it has stimulated to the point where we're picking up some jobs. I get all that. But isn't that still temporary? Don't you have to fix the underlying structure of the economy first?
Well, not first, but you have to. What you need to do is maintain employment temporarily, and that's right. That's the idea of the government stimulus. Government has to fill that hole because there's nothing else that could do it. Over the longer term, what has to happen is the dollar has to fall so that we improve our trade situation, and basically trade would make up that gap.
So let me jump in there, because then the Fed just did quantitative easing part two, and that should help to lower the dollar, shouldn't it? So will that help?
That will be a positive step. I don't think it will go far enough, but we are getting the dollar down, but it's probably not going to be anywhere near enough, and it's certainly not going to be that quick. So it takes a long time for that to have an effect. But, it's a step in the right direction, but I think nowhere nearly large enough.
So let's talk about other ideas. Well, let me throw one crazy one out at you. It's crazy because you're not supposed to talk about it, in polite conversation. So let's keep it low. Tariffs. Is that possible, and is that a good idea?
Well, you could do it. I mean, it's the same sort of principle as a dollar, getting the dollar down. It makes imports more expensive. You can do it. I mean, my preferred route, as I say, is to get the dollar down because it does the same thing. It also boosts your exports, and you don't run in. Tariffs can be messy that, people trying to evade them. You also get retaliation. So you can do them, but again, I think getting the currency down is just a much neater route.
All right, and what else can we do, other than the currency and possibly tariffs? And I don't want anybody to get me wrong as I suggest that. It's not that I think we should start a trade war. It's that perhaps we can get a little fairer trade, because sometimes I understand China doesn't quite play fair, among other countries. So, but talk to us about other ideas to help the economy and get more jobs into the system.
Well, one thing is the Fed certainly could be more aggressive, and the way I would like to see them go is actually something that Ben Bernanke himself advocated back when he was still a professor at Princeton, is to target a higher inflation rate. Say they said, we're going to shoot for a 4% inflation rate over the next 5 years, and we're going to do whatever it takes to get the inflation rate up to 4%. That could have the effect of helping to alleviate debt burdens. It also would have the effect of reducing the real interest rate. Well, what that would mean is that anyone who's producing a product, people are producing televisions, tables, whatever it might be, they'll know that if they upgrade their capacity today, when they're selling things 3, 4, 5 years out, they're selling them for a considerably higher price. So it gives them incentive to do that. The other policy I'd love to see, and they've done this very successfully in Germany, is work sharing. There they give firms incentive that instead of laying people off, they cut back hours. It's an amazing success story. Germany actually has a lower unemployment rate today than it did at the start of the downturn, and that's even though it's actually had lower growth. It's actually had less growth than the United States. So I'd love to see us go that route here.
All right, Dean, I want to run another idea by you. It's far crazier than tariffs, if you ask me. It comes from David Broder of the Washington Post. I know you're familiar with it. He wrote, with strong Republican support in Congress for challenging Iran's ambition to become a nuclear power, President Obama can spend much of 2011 and 2012 orchestrating a showdown with the mullahs. This will help him politically because the opposition party will be urging him on. And as tensions rise and we accelerate preparations for war, the economy will improve. Does that make sense?
Look, this is about as offensive as it could possibly be. I mean, the idea that you would have a war, you'd threaten a war for the sake of the economy, you know, it's, look, you know, this, you're talking about killing hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people. Who knows where this ends up? And you don't do that to boost your economy. Secondly, if you want to boost the economy, and here Broder, you know, this is a guy who was complaining about deficit stimulus. Guess what? This is deficits. These are stimulus, you know, so he's okay for us running deficits to have a war, to threaten a war. But if you talk about having deficits to build up our infrastructure, to educate our kids, he gets up there and yells about this. This is close to wacky. The last thing is it might not even be that much of a help in the sense that, you know, as a practical matter, let's say we really convinced the world we were about to go to war with Iran. Guess what happens to the price of oil? You know, so I'm just like, this is like immoral. It is crazy policy. You know, you really wonder, you know, Washington Post, it's their call as to what they want to print, but this is really off the deep end in my view.
Yeah, and besides, I thought we already had 2 wars, and how did that turn out for our economy?
Yeah,
Not so
you know,
good, did it?
How many wars do you want? I mean, I really, really hope no one in the White House is taking that one seriously.
I hope a lot of things David Broder says don't get taken seriously. All right, Dean Baker, thank you for trying to come up with serious ideas on how to raise the employment in this country. We appreciate you joining us.